Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh wow.
Yum. This is good.
This is so I'm glad you said yum because this is yummy.
Yeah.
This is yummy.
It was like literally the first word to just pop in my head when I had this.
This is
like, wow.
This is the Oh Mine 3 grain from どこだっけ? It's from Yamaguchi.
Okay.
Which is cool. Yamaguchi is way far south.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess it's like there's 3 types of rice that they've mixed in here or something like that. I'm not sure. But it's called Oh Mine 3 grain. But this is Muroka Genshu. Yeah, which is my stuff, you know.
It tastes like you're drinking juice.
You know what? No, I was so it's funny because there's not really much of like a bubblegum flavor in there, but the first thing I thought about was like bubblegum, sweet, kind of like
super sweet.
It's like childish almost in a good way, in a good way, you know,
like nostalgic childish.
It's like when I think when the second I took a sip of this, I thought of the Barbie movie that came out.
No, I get it though. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, because it's really sweet, but it's like not sweet in the way that most like sakes are sweet. Like it's not like flowery or something. It's kind of, I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. I like this.
Yeah.
So this was sent to us by Aki.
Thank you, Aki.
Thank you, Aki. Dude, I just took like a second swig, and like when it hit the back of my throat, it's like I'm in a candy shop. That's just how I feel.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I just want to say this is like amazing because we were just like cheers, yeah. And now because of this drink, we're all kind of like smiling and we're kind of like peppy a little bit.
No, I feel like it's the small little things that go about your day that like dictate your mood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can wake up kind of feeling crappy, but that only lasts for so long. And then like things throughout the day. And it's like this kind of thing just brings up the mood.
This is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of cotton candy grapes. That's what it is.
I don't think anyone watching this channel knows what those are.
But you've had them before, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to explain what they are?
Yeah. So when I explain it, people are gonna think this is so weird, and it's like, of course,
it's very American.
Yeah, it's like, of course, America just pumps sugar into stuff. But basically, through genetic modification, some like scientists have basically been able to modify grapes to taste like cotton candy. Basically, they just severely upped the sugar content of each grape, right?
Yeah. And I just want to say, because when you say genetically modified, people think, oh, GMO. Like they rearranged the DNA and put like fish DNA or something in it. But it was like, I thought it was natural crossbreeding between cultivars, you know?
But I mean, that's still genetic modifying.
It is, but if you say, especially in Japan, if you say GMO, it's like, oh my, you're going to get cancer now.
I know. I'm a huge GMO fan.
Yeah, I mean, America, the land of the GMO, right?
Yeah.
But anyways,
that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Today, what are we talking about, Austin?
We're talking about Donald Trump.
The exact opposite of cotton candy grapes. The Drumpf. We're talking about the Drumpf.
We're talking about the Drumpf.
So I just gotta tell people. So many people maybe don't know this, but was it Donald Trump's dad or his grandfather who was an immigrant to America? Maybe it was his grandfather.
I think it was his grandfather.
Yeah. So like a lot of Caucasian people in America, Trump is from like a line of German immigrants and when they first came to the country, their last name was Drumpf, D-R-U-M-P-F, but that's too German because you never put P and Fs together in English.
Yeah.
So they changed it to Trump. So,
which, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Love or hate the guy, that's kind of a cool last name.
Well, no, but it's funny because
I think it is.
Well, a lot of people who don't like Donald Trump, when they want to like take a slide at him or kind of say something bad at him, they call him Drumpf or the Drumpf, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's true.
But yes, so we're talking about Donald Trump, specifically about the tariffs that he's talking about.
So, I think, this episode's coming out in March and...
we're filming in March.
Oh, sorry. We're filming this episode in March, late March, and basically when Trump took office in the U.S., one of the big things that he ran on during the campaign was he believed that basically every country in the world wasn't treating America fairly in terms of trade deals.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So why was that?
So basically, America had exported a lot of its manufacturing to other countries, and to get those manufactured goods back in the U.S., they ended up paying those countries really high tariffs.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump, as soon as he took office, set out a notice to basically every country in the world saying, we are going to match the tariffs that you put on the US. So you have two options. You can either come to me and make a deal. Well, you have three options, really. You can come to me and make a deal. You can accept the tariffs, or you can move the manufacturing back into the US and then you don't have to pay tariffs.
Yeah.
And that's his deal. And he initially tried to implement it like right away, like the next day. And the government got kind of upset about him for that, because they're like, dude, we have no way to enforce this now.
Right.
So they changed the date a couple times, and then they finally settled on April 2nd. And that's coming up. That's going to be next week.
Yeah.
So basically the entire world has this deadline to decide what to do with these tariffs.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of coming up to that.
Yeah. And we know like a lot of people in Japan and in other parts of the world are crying out saying, this is unfair. This is not good. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
But can you kind of explain the reasoning from, not your reasoning, but Donald Trump's reasoning, or like his side, why they would do this?
So, okay. So the way he wants it is, he doesn't actually want to put the tariffs on these countries. That's not the end goal. The end goal is to try and get manufacturing back into the US. Yeah. Right. And I want to emphasize this is his stance on stuff. I'm just trying to explain.
Yours. You're just sharing his stance.
Yeah. So his idea is none of these countries are just going to accept these trade deals. Yeah. Right. Because they're kind of ridiculous. Yeah. In many ways. Like, I mean, to be fair, the tariffs are really high for that America's paying, but I don't think anyone wants to deal with these tariffs, because what tariffs really do is they hurt like the average person. Yeah. Right? Because we're the ones who have to pay for it, right? Yeah. So if tariffs go up for both countries suffer. So it's not a good thing, but it does bring people to the table in a very strong-armed way, right? Yeah. And so he wants to bring manufacturing back into the US. And I think the most recent example of this is with Japan. Yeah. The CEO of SoftBank. Yeah. They've signed like a multi-billion-dollar deal to set up like factories and institutions to like grow AI research in the United States. And so personally, what I think will happen, like once the deadline passes, is probably a lot more deals will start coming with these countries. Will start moving manufacturing into the US. Yeah. So like the thing that Donald Trump's really run on both in his previous term and in this term too is make America great again. Yeah. He wants to try to make America an exporting powerhouse. He wants to try to not rely. Like a key phrase for all of you learning English when you're talking about this topic is the term trade deficit or trade surplus. So what in the 80s when the yen was really weak, and that was during the bubble period, whatever. There was a huge trade surplus in Japan. Japan was exporting more than it was taking, and so it was selling more than it was taking. So it had trade surplus. Whereas, like in America, for a while now, we've been in a trade deficit where we import more than we export, more than we sell. Yeah. And so for him, he's running on saying like, hey, listen, we've had this trade deficit for so long. I want to try and fix this. Yeah. But another thing that he kind of run on that I think really capture the heart of a lot of Americans, and one of the reasons why he won the popular vote is because he's sharing the story that since World War II, America has been the babysitter of the world. America has been giving aid all over the world. Like we've been basically making it so that Japan doesn't need a military. We've made it so that Europe doesn't really need a military because we're always here to help them. We're always giving and giving and giving. Yeah. Whereas the other side is taking and taking and taking. And so he says, okay, we're not going to be supporting
like we were before. We're going to make things equal. Now, whether you believe that that's true or not, that's another story, but that's the story that he's sharing, right?
Yeah.
And so what I think what you said before is part of that is this these tariffs are kind of like threats to get people in line.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember what happened with Mexico? He's like in Mexico, maybe this was like a couple months ago or maybe in February or something, where he wanted Mexico to crack down on illegal immigration more. And so he said, we're going to give you this huge tariff and we're not going to let any of your elites to come to America anymore. And then people were saying, that's so bad. Like, why would you do that? But what it did was it made them crack down on immigration right away. So like you said, he's not actually thinking that's going to go through, but he's using it to make a deal.
Yeah. One of the things that I find interesting about this whole thing going on is like, I think a lot of people just really aren't used to this style of politics. I mean, like, and by a lot, I mean everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're used to the political person being really dignified, having very well thought out statements. Yeah. Right? And really not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers. Yeah. Right? Like even very serious talks like like addressing like the Ukraine war or like aggression from China, a lot of countries will kind of dance around the topic and say vague statements because like one of the big things about being a politician is you never commit to anything. Yeah. Right? That's like politics 101. As soon as you get elected, you're just like, "Oh, you want my opinion? Well, yeah, I think it's a good question." Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny because when you watch interviews with politicians and someone says, "Are you for this trade ban or are you against this trade ban?" They say, "I believe in the American people," and they just totally talk about something else. Yeah, they'll be like, "I believe in the American people, and you know what? This is a really important topic that I think we should really take seriously."
But it's going to be the American people who decide.
It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
It's not an answer to the question.
Yeah. So, Trump is definitely the opposite of that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's been wild, man. I can't even believe it's only been 3 months because there's been so much that happened with him. Like, so one of the things that he does, and I actually say I really like this about him. There's a lot of criticisms I have about Donald Trump, but I actually really like that he broadcasts live White House like anything that's going in the White House, he broadcasts it live. Yeah. And I really like that transparency to an extent. Yeah. Right. I think it works out really well because you can kind of see what he's thinking about and kind of what's going on with the government on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Which I think previously there was like this shadow. Yeah. Until like, this White House spokesperson would come out and be like, "I'm going to select questions and only talk about these things." Yeah. And it's like here you can kind of see this raw and kind of form your own opinion. And I really like that. I don't like when foreign dignitaries come and they do that live because whatever your stance on the Ukraine war
with Zelensky,
you can't tell me that whole thing that happened live with Trump and Zelensky, like getting in this like argument and shouting at each other. You can't tell me that was good for either country. Yeah. It made everyone look weak and it made everyone look weak. But the funny thing is a lot of people think that was just a one-time thing. But that's like there's been a lot of discussion that like Joe Biden got in a lot of arguments with Zelensky also. Yeah. So I actually think that we're seeing what real politics actually looks like, but it's really ugly.
Well, so I'll tell you. So So what I've learned through running a YouTube channel and kind of having a public presence is it's really bad to show yourself losing control of your emotions because more than anything, people stop respecting you. Yeah. And the tough thing is Trump is so petty. And so like
so true.
Like this old grandma can be like, "I don't like the color of your tan," and he'll like say, "Okay, I'm going to deport you," and it's not actually going to happen. But he just gets so ruffled so easily, And so I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't respect him because he's just so emotional. And there is I really do like that there's more transparency. But like
Yeah.
you said, there's a time and a place for having private discussion. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's the kind of thing, like, you know, because it like, if you think of like, what does it really benefit to having that, like that kind of thing live where you're sitting down and at that moment, Zelensky and Trump haven't really settled on like an agreement with their trade, right?
Yeah.
And there's like all this drama going around with the current Ukraine war, and it's very obvious they're still in the negotiation part where they're still like trying to see how much they can get out of the other person, right? And that part I don't think the public needs to see.
Yeah.
Because it just makes both people look weak and petty.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It made Trump look like a groveling, or like not a groveling idiot, like a bullying idiot. Right. Like have you seen the memes about JD Vance?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, people are making tons of memes about him, just like making his face like really fat. And, anyways, it's really funny.
Okay.
But yeah, it makes him look bad, but it also made Zelensky look bad.
Yeah.
You know, it made him look like a groveling person, like he doesn't have any power on anything. And if I was Ukrainian, I would look at this and be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you're dragging our leader through the dirt.
Yeah.
You know?
And so it just looks bad for everybody. So I like the transparency, but I think some things need to not.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, so thinking about like the tariffs and stuff that he's doing, because, you know, by the time that we release this video, the deadline that you said is going to be over.
For sure.
And so that's when Japan's going to need to make a decision for these tariffs.
Yeah.
But you know what was funny is, like, in my research of looking at the tariffs, is I didn't realize that Japan has a 700% tariff on foreign rice. So like,
hey guys, if you've watched this far, you're going to love our Austin and Arthur friends.
In the Austin and Arthur Friends, you're going to really improve your English listening. And I mean a lot.
Yeah. So for each episode, you'll get English and Japanese subtitles, so you can check your listening and comprehension.
You'll also get access to a members-only community where you can talk with us, the both of us. Mainly me, right?
No, definitely not. For more info, click on the link here, or in the description box of this video.
Thanks for being our friend.
Woo!
I have no friends.
You know, that's so funny, because it's like, who is buying the rice?
Well, what's funny now, though, is that because rice prices are going so high that you're starting to see California rice in stores in Japan now.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's buying it, dude. People in Japan are like so fixated on eating Japanese rice.
Yeah, people are doing like furusato noze to get their rice, but still, no. But the fact that you can put a 700% tariff on American rice, and it's still now in line with rice prices in Japan, that's ridiculous. It
is kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah, you know, Japan, and like, you know, like I do really think that I think this whole tariff situation, first of all, like you said, the tariffs are not actually going to be put in place that Trump is saying we should do, but they're going to come to a more amicable agreement, you know?
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But I don't know what that agreement is going to be.
I don't know what it is going to be either. I know it's a really weird situation because different countries are kind of taking it differently.
Yeah.
I know here in Japan, there's been like I keep up with the news in Japan, and I know there's been discussion about the Trump tariffs.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really been that. I don't want to say it hasn't been that big a deal, but it's not that explosive as a topic as what you see in like European news sources.
Yeah, right.
Europe is going ballistic over this right now. So, like, I'll give you an example. In the past week, several, like, almost getting into the double digits, several European countries have issued travel advisories and have issued, like, really, like, not threatening, but like bad statements about the U.S.
Yeah.
Saying that like they don't see the U.S. as a partner anymore. Yeah. They're looking to replace the U.S. In NATO.
Yeah.
In the next 5 to 10 years, and it's like a really big topic for them right now.
Yeah. But here, you know, honestly, this is how I see this. Right? Is it's like a teenage child kind of like ranting against their parents, being like, oh, you won't let me go out with my friends anymore. Or like, I feel like, I don't know. What I think is going to happen is there's going to be tons of yelling and screaming, and then it's all going to subsist because honestly, Europe can't do anything. Because, okay, they're going to take America out of NATO, then what's left?
Yeah.
It's just like some small European countries that no one's going to care about, you know? But sorry for all the German people watching this.
But it's a true statement. And but I think you have to look at it from both ends, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to ask the question. It's like, okay, is America being treated fairly?
Yeah.
And I think for Americans, from the American point of view, no.
Yeah.
Right? Now, whether or not that's true is a whole different thing, but I think that's how many Americans feel. And that's like what Trump has been running on, right? But at the same time, I think you have to also ask another question is this how we should treat our allies?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so like for a really good example is Japan and America have been like super close allies since World War II.
Yeah.
Since after World War II finished, America and Japan have just been like literally disconnected.
Yeah.
Right. And does it make sense to put like these really aggressive trade tactics on very close allies like Japan, like Canada, like England? Yeah. You know?
Well, and I go back to this what do you call it? It's not a simile, a metaphor.
Yeah.
I'm going back to this metaphor of like a parent with their child or something like that.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, so almost all of Japan and almost all of Europe was desecrated in World War II. Sure. Everything was firebombed and destroyed. And it was the reason why America was so good in the 50s was because it was rebuilding Japan and Europe, and there was all this industry happening, whatever. Yeah. And so like America really did make this new world order. And so it's almost like America is the parent of this modern society that we have right now, this international society that we have.
I think if you're talking in terms of influence. Yeah.
But also when you think about it, NATO, you know, if you leave NATO, if America leaves NATO, what's left, you know?
Yeah.
And America is really supporting the military in both Japan and in Europe. And so it's kind of like, you know, America has assumed like the parent role. And now they're saying, hey, I know you were living here, but now you got to pay rent. I'm tired of paying your room and board.
That's a good point.
But what's funny is that in America, a lot of parents, when their kids turn 18, or a little bit older, they start charging them rent.
They
want them to become independent. Yeah, or kick them out and say, hey, I've supported you until you're 18. Yep. You got to be independent now. That's a very American way of thinking.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of, one of the people watching our channel, they wanted to know how the average American thinks about these tariffs.
Yeah.
And I think the people who supported Trump kind of feel that. It's like, oh, they've been supported by us for long enough. It's time for them to be independent.
One of the things that I think a lot of people here in Japan don't realize is, like, if you look at Japan in terms of opinions, Japan's a more or less homogenized society, right? There's like, I'm generalizing here, but it's pretty true. That there's like kind of one way of thinking in Japan, right? Now, obviously, everyone in Japan doesn't think that way, but generally speaking, in America, it's not that. There's two ways of thinking, right? You have Republicans and Democrats, and they hate each other.
Yeah,
they absolutely hate each other. And although Trump did win the popular vote, he still won by like just over 50%.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about this stuff, it's like, well, many Americans agree with this. I think, like you said, it's the people who voted for Trump think that.
Yeah.
Because there's still basically half the country that's really opposed to this.
Yeah.
Right. And they're very upset about the tariffs.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is because, you know, so like you said before, is that the tariffs are part of a larger strategy to kind of whip other countries into shape to like change their relationship. Yeah. But what I see from the left or the people who don't like Trump is they're just saying, doesn't Trump know that tariffs are horrible for America? If we put in this Trump, they're just looking at the tariff as if that's like what he actually wants to do.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't see that that's the move that he's making, but he actually has this other strategy in place.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's a little disingenuous to just like look at the tariffs themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think if you really sat down and look at the tariff situation, like anybody will come to the conclusion that it's like, these are never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not realistic.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like the point is making these threats to bring everybody to the table to discuss stuff.
And you need to give like an extreme threat to kind of, even if people don't even believe that's what you're going to do, that you're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Then they're going to start to listen to you again, you know? So like, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, look, like Trump didn't implement the tariffs on Mexico.
No.
Because Mexico came to the table and they made a deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So we'll see. Like the one thing like I'm worried about is being a person living here in Japan. I root for Japan.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the kind of person who you know, doesn't feel loyal to Japan. It's like this is my home.
Yeah.
Right? So I want Japan to be successful. So I am a little worried about Japan in the future, but at the same time I think Japan's economy is terrible right now. Right? It's not doing good. Like they're still a very rich country, and the way I'm looking at it is in my opinion, the only way Japan has going for the future is through AI. Right?
Okay.
I think they're getting outpaced as far as like cell phone technology by China and Korea, in America. They're getting outpaced. Like Japan's never been a really big agricultural powerhouse, right? Asian countries like more, not really China, but more like Vietnam, Thailand. Those countries blow Japan out of the water in terms of making produce. Yeah, right. Right. Japan will never catch up with those countries. So you really have to look at like what can Japan produce? Well, Japan, we like to joke about how like there's a lot of like old fashioned things in Japan, like fax machines are still heavily used here. But Japan's still like a leader in the world in terms of technological development.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily direct to consumer products. No. It's B2B stuff.
Yeah. And one of those things is AI research. Yeah. Japan's still one of the leaders in the world in AI research, and I think that really is their future. So I'm really looking forward to like more development with the SoftBank thing going on, and I think the more Japan can end up setting up industry in America, the more it benefits both countries.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's something I wanted to talk about that because you said like one of the conditions is that people will bring their manufacturing to the United States. Yeah. But you know, I saw that actually. So a lot of like European car manufacturers now what they're going to do is basically they're going to assemble the cars in Europe. They're going to take them apart so that they're really easy to put back together, and they're going to put them on a boat, and then they're just going to put them together in America again. So it's like bypassing that whole manufacturing rule.
Sure, and you know that's the thing when it comes to business, right? Yeah, people always find loopholes for stuff like that. But I think I don't know. Like I'm really interested to see how things go because I think as an American, I resonate with a lot of what Trump has to say. Yeah. I don't agree with him on everything. Yeah. I really oppose his foreign policy. Yeah. Especially how he talks to a lot of like ally countries. I don't like that. I don't like his stance on the Ukraine war. Yeah. But I really resonate with a lot of what he has to say in terms of how Americans feel like they're treated. Yeah, right. Right? And it's like it's really frustrating because as an American, it's like being here in Japan, Japanese people really like Americans. So you don't, generally speaking, yes. Right? Like if I go up and talk to a person like at an izakaya or at some social thing and I bring up that I'm American, usually they're pretty excited. Yeah. Right? They're like, "Oh, that's cool. You know, I went to America once," or you know, there's some kind of conversation there. But that's not true with most of the world. Yeah. Right? And especially a lot of European countries, you'll go over to there and the topic of you being American comes up and they're just like, yeah, you suck.
So when we would go back to when we would go from America to Europe, you know, we would try to hide the fact that we were American because it was embarrassing. They'd be like, "Oh, you Americans."
No, but that was a recommended piece of advice that like a lot of travel books would have. That's like, okay, if you're American and you're going to Europe, put like a little Canada pin on your backpack or something, right? And it's like that's disgusting. I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to hide myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think I really feel like a lot of Americans have felt like a doormat.
Yeah.
To a lot of countries for probably the past like 30 to 40 years. Yeah. It's a mentality that a lot of Americans now, do we cause problems? Absolutely. Yeah. Is there a lot of things in the world that are caused by America that are significantly worse? Yeah. Are Americans obnoxious like American tourists? Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't want them coming to Japan.
Yeah.
Like there's you always hear on the news of like how some stupid American like YouTube streamer comes to Japan and causes problems for people. I hate that, man. It's disgusting behavior, but I also don't like feeling like a doormat.
Yeah, well, so okay, that's one side of it, but then you could also kind of going back to the parent-child metaphor.
Yeah,
like we are the ones who created this society that relies on America, that relies on the United States dollar, and now it's like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. You know, imagine like for Luna, right? Let's say, well, if she was 18, that might be a different story. I don't know how you feel about that, but like, let's say like you would just say, okay, I'm done supporting you. Good luck. Like in Japan or in Europe, they'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think an 18-year-old kid a lot of the time would be like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I mean, so like normally if you're a good parent, you'd give warnings and be like, okay, next couple years, let's do an exit plan. Up. Instead of like, hey, I changed my mind.
We're done.
You're out.
Yeah.
Pay me rent.
I think the main problem that I have with the tariff thing is how sudden it was.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? I don't disagree with the decisions that he's making in terms of the tariffs, in terms of trying to get more fair deals with America, because I think a lot of Americans feel that way.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the tariffs are one-sided. You know, America pays a lot more than it pays out, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk about this more, but we are on time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I would love to hear what everyone thinks. If you disagree with us, you're wrong. Just remember that.
No, but I really want to know what you guys have to think, because we're not Japanese, obviously. And it would be really interesting to know the perspective of a Japanese person in terms of like these tariffs. Like, do you agree with what he's doing? Do you disagree? Mm-hmm. Like, tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll check him out.
For sure.
But yeah, so what are we talking about next time?
Bullying.
Bullying in the United States versus Japan.
Yeah.
Awesome.